Negotiations on EU-UK relations are proving difficult. If both sides cannot agree on a deal, there is a risk of lower incomes and higher unemployment. The difficult situation in this country could force Prime Minister Boris Johnson to make concessions. The negotiating partners have around 5 weeks now. The European Union and its ex-member Great Britain have to reach an agreement by December 31st, and otherwise the transition phase will end with an unregulated Brexit, so-called Afghanistan-style deal, and with far-reaching consequences. Brussels and London are still far apart on key issues. A finished agreement would also have to be translated in good time and ratified by all EU member states. Time is running out, wrote EU Chief Negotiator Michel Barnier recently on Twitter once again. Fundamental differences persist, but we are working hard on a deal. What is clear is that both the UK and the EU would be hard hit if they did not reach an agreement. Both sides would have to raise tariffs, long waiting times at the borders could result in delivery bottlenecks, and trade between the countries would probably decline. If you want to stay informed on the developments, don't forget to subscribe to my channel down there, by the way. Without a deal, the United Kingdom will fall into recession in 2021 and should face a stagflation problem in the medium term, explains Paul Welfens, Professor of Economics at the Bergische Universität Wuppertal, in an interview with the German newspaper. Stagflation is a combination of stagnating real income and inflation. The possible political consequences are difficult to put into figures. In Europe-friendly Scotland, leaving the EU has boosted the desire for national independence. If, after a hard Brexit or Afghanistan-style deal, a solid border emerges again between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, many experts believe that the laboriously worked out peace there would be in danger. The European side would probably get off lightly. However, an unregulated Brexit would also have consequences for Germany and the other EU countries. Paul Welfens reckons that Germany's exports to the kingdom without a deal will fall by 10% in the next 2 years. There would be a quarter of a percentage point of national income loss. It should not be forgotten that a no-deal Brexit would also hit the neighbouring countries of the Netherlands and Belgium hard, which in turn are important trading partners for Germany. A study commissioned by the Federal Ministry of Economics comes to the conclusion that 103,000 jobs in Germany would be affected by a hard Brexit. The Bertelsmann Foundation has calculated that the per capita income of Germans would decrease by 115 euros per year. However, the decline in income would be particularly large for the British themselves. It's 900 euros per person per year. On the one hand, there is a hitch in the negotiations with fishing. Until now, EU members had largely free access to British waters. Fleets from France, Belgium and the Netherlands in particular continue to rely on it. British companies, on the other hand, want the British fish to be theirs. So far, foreign fleets have bought more than half of the fish. That means more fish from British waters than the British themselves. Another term in dispute is level playing field, which could be translated with equal competitive conditions. The EU will only consent to free trade with the UK if there are comparable social and environmental standards. The British, on the other hand, want to set these rules themselves. In October, Boris Johnson made it clear that he did not want to change his stance. Speaking of the negotiating partners in Brussels, he said in a speech, "They are calling for the possibility of controlling the freedom of our legislation and our fisheries in a way that would be unacceptable to any independent country." He was able to record the free trade agreement that his government negotiated with Japan and Canada as a success. Nevertheless, Johnson is in a difficult position. A hoped-for free trade agreement with the US is a long way off due to the change in the presidency. In any case, Joe Biden will not make it easy for Johnson, as Donald Trump would have been expected to do, says Paul Welfens. The United Kingdom has already had a severe economic shock to digest from the corona pandemic. The economic consequences of Brexit would add to that. The pressure on Johnson is maximum. Because of the massive corona economic crisis, he should look for a deal with the EU at the end of the year. He says, in mid-November, the British Prime Minister parted ways with his controversial advisor and Brexit hardliner Dominic Cummings. The move is seen as a sign that Johnson wants to say goodbye to his confrontational course in domestic and foreign policy. Expert Welfens believes that Johnson ultimately depends on agreeing to a deal. There will probably be at least a last-minute deal to get a longer transition period for further negotiations. That's what he believes. The EU also continues to hope for an agreement. The longer transition period, Welfens believes, would be almost as difficult to get as a comprehensive trade agreement, because the EU Parliament would have to agree to this, of course, and the British law would have to be changed, because the law currently is that it's forbidden to have a longer transition period. And it's almost as complicated as a deal, as I said. After difficult weeks, we are now making greater progress, said Commission President Ursula von der Leyen at a press conference last week. On Wednesday in the European Parliament, however, von der Leyen said, "I still cannot tell you today whether there will be an agreement in the end. The next few days would be decisive. There are still very serious differences. With very little time left to go, we'll do everything in our power to reach an agreement," said von der Leyen. "We are ready to be creative, but we are not ready to question the existence of our internal market." In Brussels, a representative survey by the Pew Research Center is also likely to have met with satisfaction. In it, 60% of British respondents say they have a positive of the European Union, a historic high and an increase of 6 percentage points compared to the previous year. The assessment of the corona crisis management apparently contributed to this. Only 46% of the British people are of the opinion that their own government is doing a good job in dealing with the pandemic. The EU, on the other hand, got 64% good marks on this subject. Economist Paul Welfens does not believe, however, that the EU can rest on such figures. The member states should strengthen their cooperation. If this is not possible with all states due to the current blockade policies of Poland and Hungary, then at least on the basis of the Euro states, with Parliament, government and budget for the Eurozone. The EU and the Eurozone need to be able to act, since the further economic rise of China is foreseeable and the USA can be expected to be politically weakened for years. And if you now want to know more about Brexit, YouTube has chosen another of my videos right here for you on the end screen, next to the subscribe button. And if you want to know more about European or global news and politics, those channels are right up there. I'll see you in my next video. Click and enjoy. Viel Spaß!